Up to 1 million Muslims remain in detention in northwest China with no access to legal help. Detained in so-called vocational education centers run by the Chinese government. Their crime is their faith. And the UN wants this investigated. For the second time in 6 months, UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet has asked China to allow an independent assessment into its detentions of Muslim minorities. It's the kind of appeal that couldn't have come soon enough for Omar Bekali, who was interned in one of these camps.
The chains on Omar Bekali's wrists symbolize his imprisonment in a Chinese re-education camp. The Kazakh Muslim was tortured there for many months, both physically and psychologically. In the camp, we had to learn Communist Party songs by heart and perform them. We had to praise the party and say it's everything to us. Chinese authorities accused Omar Bekali of aiding terrorists. He was arrested. He was housed together with around 40 people in one room at the camp. His cellmates included professors, teachers, and doctors. He speaks of systematic punishment. We were forced to eat pork. If we did not eat it, if we did not praise the party, we were always punished. Omar was forced to stand for 18 hours. He was beaten. After 8 months, he was released from the prison camp. He believes it was because he is a Kazakhstan national. The Chinese wanted him to keep quiet. I was allowed to leave the camp on the condition that if I didn't remain silent, my family would pay for it. They were all sent to the prison camp. My father died there. I don't know anything about the fates of my mother and my sister. Surveillance cameras, a watchtower, razor wire. This is what the internment camps in Xinjiang look like from the outside. They've existed since 2017. Human rights activists estimate there are up to 1 million prisoners inside. China denies that these are re-education camps, but human rights activists and experts disagree. And they have satellite images that they say show that these camps are being expanded.
And joining me for more is Dolkun Issa. He's president of the World Uyghur Congress and himself had to flee China in the 90s to escape persecution. Mr. Issa, thank you very much for coming into the studios. At the outset, I'd just like to ask you, the Chinese government maintains that it runs vocational training centers in Xinjiang and not internment camps. How do you react to that?
Well, I can say it is the 21st century concentration camp. And the Chinese government even denied, beginning of November, any camps. Chinese government denied we don't have any camp. But after the grow up international pressure, then and the partly accept, no, it's saying, yes, we have a camp, but it is not concentration camp or re-education camp. That's just a vocational camp or technical assessment camp. It is just the Chinese government has trying to hiding the reality.
Now, you called it the 21st century concentration camps, and you spoke of international pressure. Do you think there has been sufficient international pressure brought to bear on the Chinese government to close down these camps?
Well, international pressure and some country, particularly November 6, during the UPR on China, a lot of country, more than 14 countries, raised this camp issue and asked the Chinese government shut down this camp. And the Chinese government has continued rejected it, but it is the demand internationally to Chinese government shut down. This is the reality. And the Chinese government will continue expanded this camp. Well, it is, as we saw since a couple of months, Chinese government trying to hide this reality and continue expanding this camp.
So, but these camps are still expanding despite the international pressure that you claim is being brought to bear on China. What can be done to actually prevent China from expanding these camps?
Well, it is today's, as we said, in some international pressure growing up, some countries spoke on and asked the Chinese government to shut down. But it is not good enough. just concerning the issue, just request the Chinese government. That's why Chinese government just testing the world. If China internationally, some country, United Nations, really take some concrete action, some sanctions to the Chinese government, then it is useful. Then it will be Chinese government and the back step. Then there will be close this camp.
As we speak, there are also reports that a Kazakh activist, Serikjan Bilash, I think you're aware of the work that he's been carrying out. He's been supporting, working for Kazakhs who have been interned in these camps in Xinjiang. He has been arrested by the Kazakhstan government. Why do you think that has happened?
Well, it is the clear evidence. Serikjan is a Kazakh nationality. He is the Kazakh origin. Just he speak oath and the Kazakh nationality who's in the concentration camp, the right, and asked the release for this right for this the Kazakh people. He was arrested Kazakh government the day before yesterday. Before the last week, 2 weeks ago, he was tried and pays around $600 fine. But yesterday he was detained. Behind of course, the pressure of the Chinese government. Actually, the Kazakh government in the Kazakhstan is the democratic country. Themselves should be respect his freedom of expression. He didn't against any international law. He didn't against any Kazakhstan law. Just he speak all the right of the Kazakh people who is the concentration camps.
Very briefly towards the end, as President of the World Uyghur Congress, Dolkun Issa, what would you like to say to the international community? What do they need to do to have these camps closed down in Xinjiang?
Well, you know, after Second World War and the world leader gathering and the promise to the world saying never again. But today, 21st century, is happening again. So it is the world has a good experience, a very bad experience on this camp issue. So that's why United Nations, international community, particularly Western country, should be spoke loudly and should be take concrete action and should be and ask the Chinese government and the sanction to the Chinese government, then shut down this camp. Other way tomorrow too late tomorrow.
Dolkun Issa, President of the World Uyghur Congress, thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us.
I thank you so much.